12 Psychological Tips to Read Anyone Instantly. Have you seen the 2009 movie Sherlock Holmes? In the movie, Holmes meets Watson's would-be wife for the first time. And just by looking at her, he gets to know intricate details about her life. From the white mark on her ring finger, Holmes deduces that she has been married for a long time. Now imagine you have this superpower of reading people the moment you meet them. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes for that. There are easy techniques that one can employ with which he or she can have a fairly accurate idea of the character of a stranger. Go ahead, use the techniques to know the likes and dislikes of the person in front of you, and make your move. So, without further ado, let's dive in and know the secrets of reading someone instantly. Number 1. Watch out for eye blocking. People have an instinctive habit of lowering their gaze or looking sideways when they feel threatened. You can use this technique to judge whether a person is telling the truth or not. Joe Navarro, an ex-FBI agent, used this technique to figure out whether a guard was involved in the hotel fire. The fire started exactly where the guard was posted. When the agent asked the guard, "Did you start the fire?" the guard replied to him without blocking his eyes or turning his gaze elsewhere. But when the agent asked where he was when the arson took place, the guard could not look the FBI agent in his eyes. This helped the agent to deduce that the guard did not start the fire correctly, but he was probably not in his designated post, which gave some other culprits the opportunity to start a fire. The eye, as they say, is the door to the mind. If one has something to hide, they can never look you in the eye. Number 2. Identify fake smiles with this next trick. How would you detect if a person is genuinely smiling at you? In this case too, your focus should be on that person's eyes. A genuine smile doesn't just affect the muscles around the lips, it also affects the muscles around the eyes. A genuine smile makes your eyes squint a little. In scientific terms, this phenomenon is known as the constriction of the eyes. In fact, science has given a name to this kind of genuine smile. It's called a deduces smile. Number 3. The power of yawning. Look at this clip of the person yawning. I can guarantee you that you are about to yawn as well. This happens because yawning is contagious. In fact, the phenomenon happens on a cross-species basis as well. It has been seen that many dogs yawn as soon as their owners yawn. So, next time you suspect that someone is staring at you or taking undue interest in you, just yawn. If that person starts yawning too, he is definitely staring at you. Number 4. Reading a person through his handshake style. It's a general view that a firm handshake makes you appear confident and dominant. However, sometimes people try too hard while shaking hands firmly. If you have shaken a lot of hands, you already have an instinctive power of knowing whether someone is trying too hard to appear dominant by shaking hands too firmly. When this happens, be sure that somewhere in his subconscious, the man is actually suffering from low self-esteem, and he is trying to hide it with his unnaturally firm handshake. Number 5. Tilted head is a sign of romantic inclination. This one comes straight from Charles Darwin. According to Darwin, both men and women tilt their heads to subconsciously show that he or she is interested in the person sitting opposite. When it comes to women, this trait becomes more interesting. Modern psychologists believe that a woman would subconsciously tilt her head while talking to a man to whom she is romantically attracted. Number 6. Identifying a body-conscious person with the way he pulls his shirt away from his body. If a person is overweight and feels ashamed of it, you will see him constantly pulling his shirt away from his body. You might have guessed the notion. He pulls his shirt away to cover his bulky figure, and when a person does this constantly, be sure that he is ashamed of being bulky. Use this knowledge in a positive way, reassure him indirectly, and he will become your friend. Number 7. Identifying a happy person just by looking at their feet. Joe Navarro, in his book, talks about the happy feet syndrome. When someone is happy, when someone feels that they are getting exactly what they wanted, they will invariably wiggle their feet and bounce them like a child. You can use this human habit to infer whether a person is happy even if he is not smiling. Joe Navarro gives the example of a poker game where one player has got the exact cards needed to win the game. If his opponents knew the significance of his happy feet, they could have folded and left the game. But alas, they all lost to that person. Number 8. Observe what a person's feet are pointing towards. When talking to someone, Observe what their feet are pointing towards. Are they pointed towards you, or are they pointed elsewhere, perhaps towards the door? If the person's feet are pointing towards you, be assured that they are interested in whatever you are saying. But if both or one of their feet are pointed away from you, you might need to change your strategy and talk about something else. Number 9. Observe whether a person is leaning towards you or leaning away from you. If you are talking to a person and both of you are sitting face to face, observing their posture can tell a lot about that person. If a person is leaning towards you, he is interested in whatever you are saying. And when the opposite happens, when he leans away from you, he is not so interested in you. With this knowledge, you can tweak your strategies or change the topic to make that person take an interest in you. Number 10. Reading a person just by examining his text messages. This is an era when talking online is equally important as speaking face to face. This means that there will be a time when one has to judge a person's character just by examining the way they text him. Asterisk, if a person breaks down a one-sentence message into several smaller messages, he or she is likely to be an energetic and extroverted person. Asterisk again, if, after chatting with someone for some time, a person replies using just an emoji, we can be sure that he is not willing to continue the conversation anymore. Asterisk, if a person uses long paragraphs when he chats with someone, chances are they think that you are the perfect person with whom they can have a meaningful and deep conversation. Lastly, context matters. Don't rely on these techniques without being aware of the context. Now that we have come to the end of the video, let's conclude with a slight caveat. All these techniques to read a person will only work if you are sensitive to the surroundings and context. For example, thousands of other YouTube videos mention how crossing arms and placing them in front of the body makes one appear defensive or shy. However, if you are in the Arctic and see someone with arms crossed, maybe that person is just trying to keep himself warm. Again, in some cultures, the custom of shaking hands is non-existent. Like in India, people are more accustomed to greeting each other with namaste. In such countries, judging a person's mental state by observing the firmness of his or her hand will yield false positives. So always remember the context while trying to read a person. That's it for today. Use these techniques and be superhuman in your social circle. If you have more such techniques to share, feel free to comment below. The more, the merrier.